everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Summertime Podcast. And my special VIP guest today is Keith Valentine. Hello there, Keith.
Hi, Summer. Good to be with you.
Good to have you on with us as well. Could you start off by telling us a little bit about what you do, please, Keith?
Thanks, Summer. So I'm Chief Executive of Fight for Sight, which is an organisation that exists to save sight and change lives. We do that by giving grants out, and those grants to save sight are to research scientists to try and find ways to treat, prevent, and hopefully in the future cure the causes of vision loss. And we change lives by making grants to charitable organisations such as SeeAbility that work in the world to try and make life better for all sorts of communities that are visually impaired. And I'm particularly I think lucky in life in that I myself am visually impaired. I've got an intergenerational condition. So that's a condition that is passed down through families. I was raised by visually impaired people myself. And sadly, my daughter will have this condition as she goes forward in life. But I think living with sight loss and working with sight loss and having an opportunity to do something to try and make life better for all of us, for the community that I grew up in, is a real privilege. And I'm so pleased to be talking to you today about this.
So today, the topic of choice is to talk about sight loss and the impact it has. But before we come to that, I'd like to ask you, Keith, what was your favourite toy or present as a child?
So I thought that would be an easy question, but I thought, was it the bike that I got? It was a chopper when I was very young. Chopper's a 70s thing, but no, not that. And then I thought, was it the car racing set, the Scale Electric? And I thought, no. The one that I chose was a guitar that I got when I was 9 years old. And I'm choosing that because before I came here to work this morning at about 5 o'clock, I picked up that same guitar that I was given at 9 years old to play a little tune on it. And it's been with me all my life. Now, I wouldn't say I was a guitarist or that I was that good on it, but what it has given me is something that I turn to relax, and that I make better noises now than I did at 9 years old, but they're still just noises. But it's something that means a lot to me because it connects me to being a child. You may know, Summer, I'm 57 now, so very old. And so when I was 9, it was fun, and it's still fun now.
What sort of music do you like to play on it?
So I like to play things that are, I would say, folky, a little bit country music style. And if I feel I really want to push myself, I'll try and play a bit of jazz music. But I wouldn't say I was quite... I'm not a talented player. I'm somebody that just works hard to get it to make a tune. But I do like a little bit of country music and a little bit of folk music.
So the next section is Summer's surprise question.
Oh, no.
So my surprise question for this episode for you, Keith, is: are you a sweet or savoury person, and why?
So I am a savoury person. Now, I've always been a savoury person, but I can't eat sweets anymore because I was diagnosed with diabetes a couple of years ago. But I would have loved a bit of cheesecake now and again, or any kind of cake really, before with a coffee. But I would always prefer a sausage roll. So I think that makes me a savoury person.
Oh, that they sound like very nice choices, Keith. I'm quite the same with those choices.
Especially a warm sausage roll.
Yes.
I might get one later.
Excellent. What are your top 5 tips on how to give someone the best quality of life with sight loss?
So I've thought a lot about this, and I think it was the give someone a good quality of life with sight loss that I'm going to play with a little bit, because I think there are some things where what we do ourselves, those as us with sight loss, and what other people who are around us who can help can do, that kind of cross over. So the first one I'm going to say is that using technology has been absolutely life-changing for me, and I think has huge life-changing opportunities for everyone that feels confident and able to use it. I think that's very important. And I urge everyone as a tip for people that are, that have sight losses, don't be afraid of the technology, or try not to be. Give yourself time, ask for help, and be curious to find out what things are possible. And I think that over time, and you'll find the things that you like and that you can use and that work for you. So, and you shouldn't feel bad if you're not using everything, or there's some things that don't work for you. So I would say that technology is a really, really important thing. Secondly, I'd say, and I know this myself because crossing a road with my guide dog in London, there are cycle lanes and many cyclists won't stop at the red lights and those sorts of things. I would just say in those situations, I try and be confident and try not to be angry and frustrated. And I think my tip would be, the more you can find yourself as you're getting around in life being confident, then the more that you'll be able to succeed in going through the environment. Because anger and frustration really won't get us anywhere, and it can ruin your day, right, if you have a bad experience.
Oh, definitely, I agree.
Yeah, and it can be hard because sometimes things happen and you just feel so frustrated that you can't get on with what you want to do, or you get lost in those. And it can be a struggle, and for all of us. But I would say that I think confidence or trying to find a way of being confident is really important, and people can help you with that as well. And that moves me on to my third point, which is, I would say, don't be afraid to ask for help, and do that in a confident way, perhaps using tech. So all these are linking together, you can see. But I would say the biggest lesson I learned when I went, when I was registered blind, when my eyes got bad to that point, was that actually there's no shame or embarrassment in trying to rely on people around you. And often that'll be strangers, right? If you're somewhere on your own.
Definitely.
And I think I would say, on the whole, most people are kind and willing to help. Sometimes if it's not clear that you're visually impaired, it might be wise to say that to them. I can't see very well. Would you be able to help me? Those sorts of things. And I think that's a really important lesson to learn. And I think I found that really, really hard because I was too proud for my own good, and nervous that people would be rude to me or that would think I was strange. But as you start to get used to doing it, I think those sorts of thoughts drift out of your mind, and you start to think, well, it's only like if I could read a sign or find a direction myself. You're just asking for help. And my experience of that is 99.9% of the time somebody will try and help you.
Yeah.
They may not always know the right way to help you. So my fourth point is, bear in mind, whilst we will often know how we can, the kind of help that we need, people aren't all automatically going to know that around us. So I think I would say be prepared with a few basic explanations as to the kind of things that would help you as you go around. Now, the example I would give with this is, sometimes I use the bus to get around, and I was going to get on a bus, and the dog misjudged it, and somebody reached over to help me, but they didn't ask or tell me and took me by surprise, and then tried to lift me up from my arm. Now, that's not a good way of helping anybody, because it took me by surprise and I was already a bit flustered. So I would say in that situation, what I did was, look, thank you for trying, but that's not what I need help with. Would you just guide me to get on the bus by doing this? And that will always be something that's going to give you a better positive outcome if you're prepared to explain the help that you need and recognise that a lot of people don't know what to do. And my fifth one, if I'm up to 5 now, Summer.
You are, yeah.
I am. Good. Glad someone was keeping count. My fifth one, and I think the most powerful one in what I've learned in getting around London and doing all of the things that I do for my job and my personal life, smile. I think the more that we can put a smile on our faces, and I know sometimes we're not going to feel like smiling if we've got all of these things to contend with, but if you can smile, then you will find that certainly the confidence and being able to ask for help and all of those other things will start to grow with you. A smile goes a long way, much further than a frown. And I would say, somebody in that situation I described on the bus, the guy in the end walked away feeling like he'd done a good thing in his day, and I'd got on with my day as well. And I think if I'd have been frustrated and, felt that I needed to tell him off for way he was trying to help me, the outcome of that could have been both of us going away with a bad day. So yeah, try and smile, And I recognise how tough things can be for everybody, but at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is to get on with life, yeah? And
Definitely.
I think that would be, my unusual top tip advice for blind and visually impaired people getting around in life. Try and smile.
I agree with you on that one, Keith. Definitely, a smile can definitely go a long way. Right, so my next part is the VIJ, which is the very important joke.
I was warned that I'd need to do this, and I've thought long and hard, and I've gone for a silly joke. I hope that's okay.
Yes, that's okay.
So, a man walks into a baker's shop and says, "Could I have a steak and kidney pie, please?" And the baker says, "Do you mean steak and kidney?" And he says back, "That's what I said, diddle I?"
Very good.
That's the best I've got, Summer, today.
That is very good. That's still a very good joke. Thank you, Keith.
You're very generous.
Well, that brings us to the end of this episode of Summertime. I would like to just take a moment to thank everybody for listening, and I would like to thank Keith for coming on the show today. Thank you, Keith.
Thank you, Summer, and I will leave with a smile. Thank you for inviting me to join you.
That's okay. And it's goodbye from me and goodbye from Keith.
Live, love, thrive, belong.